Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Upkick MMA episode 500. I am Brener. UFC Fight Night Taira versus Park. We're going to break those down, right? We're going to go through them, talk about how we scored them, talk about some crazy fun fights on this card. There was a lot of fun. I don't want to hold up too much. Let's get into this stuff. If you like this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel. You know, videos coming out, and I really appreciate it. All right, housekeeping out of the way. Let's go. Let's get through this main event. It wasn't the most thrilling, although Taira looked fantastic, right? He's just, I think he's a top 5 talent, even though I think he was ranked 6 before this. Yeah, he was ranked 6. I think he's a top 5 talent. I think he's a real title contender. And I know he had that loss to Brener Royval. Maybe that was good for him. Maybe he's advanced. I wish we got to see the initial matchup that we were supposed to see. That way we can kind of get a little bit better feel for how good he is in the top 5 again. But I really want to see him against the top 5. All right, let's talk about this one. Let's talk about everything that happened on the main card. So Taira landing that right hand twice, putting Park down in the first round, immediately jumps on the back, and goes body triangle, gets a standing body triangle. Great round from Taira, just not a 10-8 because he didn't do enough damage from that position, and he didn't really go for any. I don't think he went for a single submission. He did not. Second round, Taira ducks under, gets a great double leg lift, and no slam, but gets the takedown, gets to the back, and right away, working for that rear naked choke, gets it. It's kind of a neck crank, but that rear naked choke position with the arms, like that figure 4. Just excellent finish for him. We got to see him against somebody here. I know he called out either Pantoja or Van, depending on who won the title. Maybe we see him versus the loser of the two. I think that makes more sense for him than the winner, right? Getting an outright title shot, unless timing and schedule. So for those of you guys who don't know, it's not just about who deserves it, right? Who has the most impressive resume over the last 6 months, or it's not just about that. It also has to do with real world scheduling, right? This is not a video game. I know that you in a video game, you're like, well, this is number 1 and here's number 2, and then they got to go fight. It's or he clearly won 3 fights in a row. He needs it. Right. But what if they're on opposite schedules, right? What if, Pantoja just fought, let's say he fought 3 months ago or 2 months ago. Okay. And then he has another fight in 2 months, and Taira, same with Van, obviously. And then Taira fights now, and then he needs to wait 4 months. Do I think that's going to be the scenario for this one? Probably not. I don't think Taira took any damage. I think he should be able to fight relatively soon. So it should be able to, just re-up and go back in there. But it's not just about who deserves the title shot. It's also, who can we schedule for the title shot when we want to put that title in there? The champion needs to fight. He's fighting relatively often. And, if Taira fits that schedule, he could jump in there. So I wouldn't be mad if they did it. I just don't, I would rather see him fight somebody else in the top 5 here. A Brandon Moreno, maybe a Kai Kara-France coming off that title loss. But I would rather see him fight Brandon Moreno, or I wouldn't hate him fighting Brandon Royval again. Seeing if he can't beat Brandon Royval in 2 fights, maybe, that's his kryptonite. And then, let's say Taira eventually does get the title, and Royval's still in the mix, and you have a fun setup for a title shot. That would be fun. So I wouldn't be mad at that either. Okay. All right. That's the main event. Taira looks fantastic. Let's talk about the co-main event. There were so many possible fights in the night. So Mateusz Rebecki versus Chris Duncan. Holy moly. This one was a little bit of a slobber knocker, not the cleanest striking, but it wasn't horrible. It wasn't, just heavyweight stand and slugfest, no technique. There was technique involved. Chris Duncan looked really good moving backwards. Rebecki looked real aggressive moving forwards. It was fantastic to watch. Both guys throwing hard kicks to start, and Rebecki's really moving in fast. He's trying to take up that space, not just lunging in. He's actually physically walking Duncan down very quickly. Duncan landing that hard right hand, landing that right body kick. That started to hurt Rebecki as the fight went on. Rebecki drops him with a left hook. I thought, but when I watched it live, but then you watch the replay, that's not what happened. Here's the thing. when you watch these things live, if you are going to score this fight, honestly, you can't score it in a way where you get to see the replay 6 times and be like, oh, well, that punch didn't land. You have to score it live in the moment. You have to score it right at the end of the round based off what you saw. You don't get the benefit of looking at replays because the judges don't get to see that stuff. So in the moment, I wrote that it was a left hook. It clearly wasn't. He just, Duncan slipped. So huge contusion on the forehead from Rebecki from that moment when Duncan landed an elbow over the top. Rebecki catches the kick, gets him to the ground. They get right back up. Not a lot on the ground with Rebecki. He got it to the ground a few times, just not able to do anything with it. As the fight slows down, I was interested to see whose style stays the cleanest, who stays the most effective. I thought it was going to be Duncan, but Rebecki just kept his head down and just kept driving forward. Duncan kind of off balance as he's throwing near the end of the round, looking a little bit tired. Hard round to score. I leaned Rebecki. I felt like he landed more damage, more pressure. I did everything. So if you look at the striking numbers, it should be clear that it's Rebecki. 32-19. Even without that drop, I would still give it to Rebecki. 10-9. Huge cut above the right eye of Rebecki, like right in here. That got nasty as the fight went on. There was so much blood later on. Duncan starts the round with good counters, using that lead elbow, finding the mark with that right hand. Rebecki landing that big left hand and a jab of his own. He was still firing back the whole time, but Duncan was doing a much better job of landing clean strikes, staying within himself, staggered him with the right hand, lands a clean head kick. Both guys' faces were really swole up after the end of this one, and he hurt Duncan hurts him with a body kick. You know, Duncan just clean counters. If that eye doesn't close with Rebecki, I thought this last round was going to be interesting. I thought Duncan maybe could get the finish. Looking at the striking numbers in the second round, Rebecki actually outlanded him. I find that hard to believe, but apparently he did. 38-25. I still gave that second round to Duncan. I felt like he did more damage. 19-19 going to the third round. Duncan with the clean strikes, landing more. Rebecki is just coming up short on his hooks. He's looking wobbly. Like I said, I thought Duncan was be able to get the finish, landing some clean strikes as Rebecki start to overextend or underextend and just not keep within himself, not stay tight with the striking, starting to get sloppy, throwing himself off balance. I thought for sure Duncan was going to catch him. Nope. Not what happened. Rebecki started landing the jab as Duncan was moving in. He cut open Duncan pretty bad. Duncan's face got really messed up. Like I said, there was a ton of blood. Great round. I just felt like Duncan landed more damage. It was not a blowout. Looking at the striking numbers here, that's what it shows. 48-44 in favor of Duncan. A great fight. So much fun. I don't know if this one's my fight of the night or the next fight that we'll talk about is my fight of the night. Looking at the scorecards, I am interested. Junichiro Kamijo, ding dong. So we're not going to talk about him. He gave it 30-27, which is completely fine, but the guy's a moron when it comes to judging. I don't know. He might be a great guy, might be nice to his grandma and give to charity and stuff, but when it comes to judging, he's all over the place. Mike Bell scored it, and Ron McCarthy scored it, 29-28, giving Rebecki that first round. That's how I saw it. That makes the most sense. It's just hard. It's hard to take Junichiro Kamijo's scorecard serious. Like earlier, it's the same with Derek. Clearly, these guys they're so inconsistent, and there was a lot of I think there were some hidden bad cards or bad scorecards in here because there was they gave 30-27s in a fight that should have been 29-28, but they got the right guy, and then there was an outright bad scorecard too. We'll get to that one too. Anyway, moving on. Elves Brener versus Esteban Ribovics. Damn, this was good. This was very similar to the fight we just talked about with Brener just being super tough and throwing back, although I would argue that this one was closer, I would say. We'll talk about it. Brener wants to get that takedown, going for the double, looking for the trips and the body lock. He ends up on bottom. They get back up. So I think that pretty much put the end to all the grappling. Brener didn't want to go for grappling. He did a good job trying to attack from the bottom, but I just don't think he wanted to engage in it and just turned into a slugfest as the fight went on. Brener has a really nice jab using that 1-2, and Ribovics keeps the pressure on. He just did not stop moving forward. Anytime he did stop moving forward, for the most part, Brener was able to take advantage of it. The problem was Brener wasn't able to do it very often. As the fight goes on, Brener keeps overswinging. Ribovics might be able to find the counters and his cardio can pull him through. It again, I thought Ribovics with the cleaner striking would have pulled away more than he ended up doing. Brener is already not looking as crisp at the 230 mark. We're halfway through the first round, and he's already kind of swinging sloppy. So it looked like to me like the writing was on the wall. Ribovics was going to run away with this. This is not what happened. Brener slips on a spin, takes a ton of shots, gets back up, still swinging big. Great round for both guys. Close on the damage, but I would say Ribovics had the biggest moment of success. I feel like he landed all those shots when Brener was on the ground, regardless of how it got there. I know it was from a slip, but Ribovics landing that damage on the ground was the most impactful moment in a fight in a round that was relatively close. Looking at the striking numbers, 39-36 in favor of Ribovics. That's how I had it. I had it very close. Second round, Brener will land and keep circling. Then Ribovics, will just get in tight and land with the hard combo, and then the leg kicks are there for Ribovics. He was just landing cleaner. Brener, on the other hand, he just would not stop throwing back. He would catch him flush, back him up, and the thing is, I think Brener probably could have won it in this round if he would have pushed his foot on the gas and really put the damage on him. He was landing really clean strikes in this round and damaging Ribovics bad. But he just continued to back up and then counter, back up and counter. I don't know if he was particularly worried about his cardio or something, but it seemed like Brener had his best moments in this round that stood out so much more than Ribovics. I felt like clearly he won this round. Ribovics did not put together as much with this in this round. As the round came to an end, Ribovics was far behind. He really needed to land something big. He did not. He got outstruck here 48-34. Clearly Brener's round. What I'm saying is, it looked like there were moments where Brener, if he just put his foot on the gas, he could have ended this fight this round. Or he could have gassed himself out, which is maybe what he was worried about. Last round, really close. Just going back and forth as the round starts. Brener looks to take a break, and he pays for it. In the middle of this last round, Brener takes a break, just shells up, and Ribovics starts to apply pressure, get out ahead on the strikes. And then here's the thing. With 60 seconds left, Brener starts landing big shots, coming off the fence. If he could drop him, I said that Brener could win this round, but he just didn't do it. And because he fell behind in the middle of the round and he took that break, it really cost him. And that's what we saw. 49-34 in favor of Ribovics for striking numbers. Really close. Like, when they're both throwing, it was an ultra close, very competitive fight. Brener just took his foot off the gas in the middle of this round, and it really cost him. Right, it's not the end of the world, one loss, but a great fight. So much fun, very technical. Saul D'Amato and Rick Winter giving it 30-27. Derek clearly is the only one who agrees. Oh, good God. Maybe I was wrong, but I don't think so. I think people weren't paying attention. It's unfortunate that Derek clearly is the one who saw it the way I did. Kind of discredits my whole thing that I said earlier. But I stand by my statements, and I stand by my observations. I've already laid out my argument, and I could defend it if I had to. Like anybody's going to question me. Nobody gives a crap about what I say. Karol Rosa versus Nora Cornolle. Not the most technical fight on the feet. Low kicks and some sloppy boxing from Cornolle. Rosa landing the counter strikes. Blah, 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 blah. Rosa staggers her with the hard left hand, gets in the clinch, and then she landed the better strikes, got more of them this round, having much better control. Cornolle outstruck her 24-18, but she didn't land the better strikes. She landed some hard leg kicks. I don't think she landed so much damage that it outdid the pressure and the control from Rosa. If you gave this first round to Cornolle, it's fine, but I had it for Rosa. Second round, Rosa takes her down almost immediately, defends a Kimura, and then stays on top. It lands some damage she starts punching to the side of the body. I think the total strikes is where we'll see it. 77 total strikes. Those didn't count as significant, but those were pretty good shots to the body. I gave this round a 10-8. She actually went for some arm triangle submissions from the mount, didn't fully step to the side from them. Still good. I have it 20-17. Last round, Cornolle walking into a takedown, ending up on her back again. That's the whole last round. She was just doing a terrible job of creating space from the bottom. Rosa gets to the back, eventually lands some ground and pound. Not as dominant as far. I mean, she did apparently land more strikes in this round. I felt like she was closer to finishing it in the second round with those submissions than she was in the last round, just in the last 10 seconds. So I gave this last round a 10-9. Looking at the scorecards, let's see if anybody gave some 10-8s around here. Oh, yeah. Mike Bell, all 3 rounds to Rosa, and seeing it exactly how I saw it, right? 10-9, 10-8, and 10-9. Chris Lee giving that first round to Cornolle. Fine. Ron McCarthy, same thing. I just think they lack a little bit of nuance. But they both did give a 10-8. Chris Lee giving that last round a 10-8, and Ron McCarthy giving the second round a 10-8. So, yeah, that last round was an arguable 10-8 round as well. Good stuff. I mean, it wasn't a horrible fight to watch. The grappling wasn't the most interesting, but it was fine. Okay. Neil Magny versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. I think, because it doesn't say it. It does say it here, but it didn't say it on his weigh-in thing, and they didn't call him Dos. I don't know. I was seeing Zaleski a lot, but not Dos Santos. And then during the fight, that was the Dos Santos was in there. Maybe they just forgot it when they were putting the names in. I wrote before this fight started. I'm being honest here. I was like, let's see if the cardio of Magny still puts him ahead of the other guys. Right? Let's see if that's still the biggest factor. Of course it was. Magny with his standard jab and pressure. He's reaching, and Dos Santos is landing like hard hooks as Magny's kind of reaching out. It's kind of a negative weakness of Magny's is when he's pressuring in, he's hittable. But once he does get in, a lot of cage grappling. Even when Dos Santos was in control, I just don't think it's the best strategy for him. This is kind of what Magny wants. He wants you to grapple. He wants you to wear on him to wear on you. He just wants that kind of in tight stuff to get you tired. And then when you're tired, that's when he picks up the striking even more to put himself out in front and possibly get a finish. Dos Santos working really hard for the single leg. Can't get any of them to go. I think that was a mistake as well. Dos Santos is winning this round, landing the bigger shots, and he's had more control. I was like, just let's see if Magny's cardio brings him out in the second round. 18-17 for striking numbers in favor of Dos Santos. Makes sense. Pretty close in the striking. Nothing crazy. And Magny mainly landed jabs. I gave it to Dos Santos. I felt like he did more damage. Anyway, second round. Immediately, Zaleski gets a takedown. Dos Santos gets a takedown. Going after the legs. He's keeping control till about 1:45 left, right? Look at the control time. 2 minutes and 37 seconds. Plenty of control. Keeps him down there. And then Magny fights out of it, gets up, lands some knees in the clinch, some hard knees in the clinch, almost from, I think, from a power half Nelson position, lands some nasty knees, follows him, lands some hard shots, and then gets to the back mount, and with ground and pound, 30 seconds left, getting the finish. Just Magny being himself. It's just what he does, man. Just breaks people down. All 3 judges. Oh, no. Derek Clearly and Saul D'Amato gave that first round to Dos Santos. Junichiro Kamijo is out on his own planet, giving Magny that first round. Not the worst scorecard, but I don't agree. I don't think that makes sense. Go back and watch that fight again. I don't think so, dude. Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. Boy, I heard this name pronounced 6 different ways. Vallejos. Vallejos. So 4 different ways. Anyway, Vallejos landing hard low kicks, swinging big up top as Silva moves his head off the center line, making him miss. This works really well early. The way Silva fights with that, very active movement. He comes from the same place as Cub Swanson, and you can see a little bit of influence from there. Obviously, he doesn't carry his hands as low, and he doesn't have the same movements as Swanson, but there's a little bit of that same essence there. And it works great as long as your cardio can keep it up. And Silva's did, but the thing is, you could tell that as the fight went on, Vallejos kind of started to get the timing down and find those marks where Silva's hands being down started to cost him, right? But initially, Silva's movements was giving Vallejos fits with trying to land power shots. He just couldn't find him. Silva staying on the outside, trying to pick his strikes, draw out the attacks, and counter. Vallejos finding that lead hook and that right hand as the round comes to an end, and Silva gets a takedown, does nothing with it. Here's the thing. Vallejos landed more shots. He pressured him the whole time. He clearly won this round. There's no way you can give this to Silva. I didn't see how Silva was going to make an impact by doing that same thing as the fight went on. Silva needed to bite down on the mouthpiece and really swing back at him, kind of stay in there and make it a little bit dirty and use his head movement in tight instead of just defending with it. Vallejos dig into the body with those hard hooks as Silva moves in, coming up top with that straight right. He landed that all day. As the fight went on, that straight right over the top was there. It was clean. Silva's jab and leading with that straight right aren't bad, but they just aren't looking like they're doing more damage than Vallejos. Vallejos did so much more damage with that right overhand landing flush, almost at will. Silva getting to the single leg a few times, just not following through with it, almost like he's not really committing to it. Vallejos getting a great double leg with 1:15 left, didn't do anything with it. Clearly more damage for him, way out in front, 35-22 for striking numbers in favor of Vallejos, 20-18. So Silva needs a finish in this last round. Silva looking for even more pressure, forcing the action. He looks like he does have the better cardio, right? So I mentioned at the top, right, that kind of movement only works when your cardio is good. It did look like his cardio could hold up. Silva's eating a bunch of right hands, just walking him down. And I was like, this might be a good strategy because he was starting to find the mark. And this is what I felt like he needed to do earlier. The problem is, if you do that and get caught, like it defeats the whole purpose. So this last round, he's down. He's not a Hail Mary necessarily, but he's got to just throw himself into the fire. And he did, right? He went out swinging. Silva had some really effective moments in this last round, but Vallejos landed the bigger ones, landed the better shots. Silva did outland him 37-36, but Vallejos just landed the bigger shots. So I had a 30-27. Looking at the scorecards here, Mike Bell, Tony Weeks giving it 30-27, and then Ron McCarthy giving Danny Silva that last round. Not the worst scorecard there, but again, I feel like these get hidden because the right guy ends up getting the win. Anyway, that is it for the main card. Prelims are going to be in the next video. Thank you guys for stopping by. I cannot believe I've done 500 freaking videos just talking to thin air. Oh, man. For those of you guys out here who always make it to the end, I really appreciate you. It means a lot to me. I'm going to continue to do this because I like doing it. All right. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to this thing. That way you know the next video is coming out. I'd really appreciate it. If you do like this video, hit the like button. That does help me as well. Yeah. Appreciate y'all. Have an amazing week. Love y'all. Peace.